Hi folks, and welcome to your daily episode of From Amateur to Expert, where we talk about work, wealth, and how you can position yourself as a top name in your industry. I'm in the Southern Hemisphere, and winter has arrived in earnest. It's a small town where it's very cold today. I was thinking about the difficulty of discipline when it is cold, when you are in lockdown, when there are external factors bearing upon you that make you less willing to put in the work that it takes to become an expert. Well, let's start with the argument, why should you? Why should you summon the work, the will, and the discipline to get things done under trying conditions? Well, in Poverty Proof, I explain that the number 1 and number 2 determinants of your upward or downward trajectory in terms of personal wealth have an internal locus of control, which is to say they are things about which you can do something. And number 1, the top determinant of your wealth potential is work ethic. Work ethic translates working backward toward you and your locus of control into personal discipline. The higher your levels of personal discipline, the more I'm willing to bet on you. So let's talk about how you can put in the amount of work that you need in order to become wealthy and in order to position yourself as a top-level expert. Thinking about that one for just a second, think of someone like Stephen King, who is the name that is synonymous with horror globally. Stephen King could not have been Stephen King on the basis of Carrie alone. He had to go on to Misery and Salem's Lot and It and so on and so forth, and some, I think, 40 years now worth of production. So where do we find that discipline? Well, during times in which we are facing things like lockdown, it is uniquely and unusually difficult to actually put in as much work as we used to, because there are fewer demarcations in the day. We used to have very defined times. It was wake up at this point in time, go to that venue, put in X amount of work, whether that's your actual career or whether it's going to gym, whatever the case might be. Times and locations make a massive impact upon your personal productivity and your personal discipline. So today I'd like to share with you 3 things that I've been doing that will help you to be a little more disciplined. The first one is the idea of pre-programming activity. Pre-programming goes like this. It says, rather than agonize over whether or not you're going to put in the work in the moment, program it in advance. So for instance, you get to the end of a day and you plan the next one. You say to yourself, all right, I know that according to my goals, I have to create a YouTube video, write a chapter of a book, whatever it is that you need to do that takes you toward greater personal wealth and helps to position you as an expert. The day before, you set a time for it, and you say, at this point in time, I'm not going to agonize, I'm not going to think about it, I am simply going to do. It is pre-loaded. This technique works exceptionally well for gym. You do not go to gym when you feel like it, because if that's the process, you simply never will. Instead, you tell yourself, at 3 o'clock tomorrow, the bag is packed, I don't think, I pick it up, I go. What you tend to find happens after that is that when you get there and get into the work, you actually enjoy it. It's the agonizing beforehand that is the problem. So pre-programming activity helps you to bypass all of that agonizing, save and conserve that amount of mental energy, and simply get on with the task. So pre-programming times is your first productivity and personal discipline tip. The second one, how long should you work for in those times? Well, there's actually an amazing amount of research on this one, and I quote this in the book Virus Proof Your Small Business. It comes from a well-researched book called Build Your Business in 90 Minutes a Day. And the author is actually making a slightly different point. It's about how to harness and organize your time in order to build a business. But he brings up fascinating research that says 90-minute uninterrupted sprints are ideal. They're ideal in terms of being long enough to get into a state of flow and get much done, but not so long as to be totally fatiguing. So what you do is you plan your 90 minutes. You prepare everything you need, whether it's any work or preparation in advance, cups of coffee, laying out items and so forth, and then you close the door. And for 90 minutes, you focus on one thing and one thing only. You do not additionally check your email or go online or anything else. You put in 90 minutes of focused work. Then you stop. And that's important too. You catch your breath, you go and do something else, walk around outside, change venues, feel some sunshine on your skin, and take a break from it. Then you might consider putting in another 90-minute sprint, but if you can only do it once per day, it is immensely powerful. If, like us, you're stuck at home with kids, what you can do is set your alarm earlier than what they arise and get in that 90 minutes before the day begins. It is difficult. It requires a great deal of you, yet that time period, that 90-minute chunk, once a day, is enough to get a book written over, say, a month, enough to launch a major project that will take you toward wealth, toward expert positioning. So pre-program the work that you're going to do. Do it in 90-minute sprints. And here's the third one, and it's such a simple little one, but I've been using this for myself. Use a guiding mantra, a very simple guiding mantra that you remind yourself of when you feel the temptation to, for example, skip steps or not do something to the level you normally would. My own one is as simple as this: put in the work. Now, I use this for gym. Right at the moment, I've got a makeshift gym setup. I've got a tragic little shed in the back, and I've got a couple of weights, and I bought myself some resistance bands, which I find work quite well. The temptation, though, is to take shortcuts. It is very taxing to take weights off of a bar, put the weight back on, screw everything back on. It takes a lot of time. Much easier in a gym just to pick up a different weight and go on. But what I've been telling myself when I face that temptation is I say, put in the work. So then I will unscrew the weight, put the other one on, do what I need to do, and I put in the work. That little guiding mantra pushes me past those steps, those mental hesitations, those stutters, and it is the thought process that I use to keep myself going and keep myself disciplined. What are you working on right now? Let us know in the comments section if you have a big project on your hands and whether you're doing it in 90-minute sprints. Mine is the next couple of books. We're about at the end of May going into June, and this coming month we will see the release of my 9th book with Penguin, which is Poverty Proof for Entrepreneurs, a follow-up to the bestseller Poverty Proof, 50 Ways to Train Your Brain for Wealth. And after that, we have another book coming out next year, tentatively titled How to Grow Rich. And it's about disassembling money myths and understanding the kinds of thoughts and behaviors that tend toward wealth. It's going to be my biggest book on wealth at an estimated 75,000 words. What are you working on at the moment? What are you turning into chunks, and what discipline techniques are you using? If they have been beneficial to you, please share them with us as well.